pretty strongly against Kawhi was Stephen A. Smith. He said his two major points were simply he believes that Kawhi Leonard should be forced to retire. That was number one. And number two, apart from, he believes that Kawhi Leonard should be forced. Yeah, and he said that he was one of the worst or top three worst superstars in sports history. His reasoning for that was that Kawhi Leonard is not marketable. He's not an extrovert. He does nothing to market the brand of the team or push the NBA as a product. That was generally his point. And some people within the NBA community disagreed with him. Some people were like some of the people that disagreed with him were JJ Redick. And JJ Redick came on ESPN First Take where he expressed his views about what Stephen A. Smith had to say. Richard Jefferson was another person that disagreed with what Stephen A. Smith had to say. And now it seems like another person is disagreeing with Stephen A. Smith is Kawhi Leonard's own teammate and Paul George, right? Paul George seems to believe that Stephen A. Smith had a bad take when he went up there and said that, Kawhi Leonard should be forced to retire. And this guy, what we want to do is want to play exactly what Paul George had to say. There's some cussing on this show, so we're trying to bleep out as much of it as we can. And then we're going to come back and react to his comments. So take a listen to what Paul George had to say.
Try to play through injuries. Like that's the goal. If you can play through it, you're going to play through it. If you can't, there's a reason why. Like nobody wants to sit out for no reason. Like you can't play through that because you won't be yourself. Like, and what's the point of going out there and be like giving? I heard Stephen A. talk about he could have Kawhi could have gave you 10 minutes or 5 minutes, bro. It's not about that. Like if I got to go on the floor and I can't be myself, then like what on the floor for? I'm liable to get even more hurt because I'm not myself. So I'm overcompensating, trying to do that I know I can't do. Like it was a dumb take.
Have Stephen A. Smith played any professional sports?
Hell no.
Exactly. So he shouldn't even be speaking on what y'all got to go through every day to put y'all jersey on y'all back. Y'all jump up and down, run up and back and forth. Like, you don't think somebody eventually gonna get hurt and their body not gonna break down?
Right.
Yeah, we give all the ones credit who fight through them and everything, but you can't fight through every injury.
You can't fight through everything.
No, I wasn't upset that you didn't. I was upset that you didn't play in this series, but I was more happy that you was taking care of your knee than getting in the series just to win a game. If y'all would have made the next round, I would have been all like, "Come on, P, get in the game." You know what I'm saying? You ready? But Stephen A. Smith, you got to stop with that with these players. I know you was mad at Kawhi, but Kawhi is injured. He played the first game, he got injured. Second game, he gave you 30 or 40-some points. Third game, he couldn't do it. Yeah. It's just part of it. His body wore out.
Right. When the injury happened, the biggest concern when that injury first happened was my leg felt like it was just going to buckle and go the other way every time I took a step. So when you got that on your mind, when you're coming back, like you're thinking about that, like, damn, if I take this step, like I know I'm not ready yet. I was going through the work. I was like, I look good doing it, but like I'm not doing it on the same level these guys doing it right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and so you're thinking about that. Like you that's on the back of your mind.
You got to think of that. They just think you got the injury. He trained
Time
enough.
passed.
It should be healed. You still got to think now. Can I do this? Can I penetrate this way? Can I move this way? Can I do anything? Because you got to get your mental mind right now. But they don't think that.
They don't see it that way.
They think because you doing podcasts right now, he can be playing.
Right.
What y'all think a person supposed to do? Sit in the damn house all day and train all day? You got a life?
Right.
If I want to do the podcast, I come do the podcast. And guess what I did before I did this podcast? I did therapy. I trained. And probably when I'm done with the podcast, what I'm probably doing. Training, doing whatever.
It's around the clock. It's around the clock.
That's what I'm saying. They got to stop all that.
So you heard what he had to say. So I have a few thoughts about this. First of all, I believe that everything that Paul George said was true from the standpoint that there are a lot of things that go into a player getting back to himself and kind of making it back to the court after an injury, especially the psychological aspect of it when you have a particular injury. And given the fact that you're performing with your body, you may have some questions or some doubts whenever you try to make a particular move. I totally understand it. I remember when I was in college, I used to sprint for fun. And I remember suffering some type of foot injury or something like that. And I remember like rehabilitating, kind of like working on myself to get back. And I remember the first few times I tried to run, I was so scared to plant my feet into the ground the way I normally would, because I didn't have the confidence that I had fully healed and I'd be able to do that thing that I normally would do without thinking about. So there's a mental aspect about returning from an injury. So I understand what Paul George is saying. However, I also think that the Clippers are pretty tight-lipped with a lot of the news surrounding the team. They don't really give people a lot of information, and they create scenarios in which they cause people to speculate, right? And people form their own opinions because everyone seems to be very tight-lipped. And this is part of the business where I think everyone has to come to terms with. Par for course, man. Par for the course. If you don't say anything, people will speculate.